Things do not get better for the Arizona Diamondbacks in the MLB Draft Lottery as they actually lose ground overall with where they end up. We're going to talk about that with our guy, Jesse Friedman, and so much more. Don't you go anywhere. You know what you're watching. And happy Wednesday to you all. Welcome into another edition of the PHNX D-Backs podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It is I, your mayor of PHNX. Thrilled to have you guys here. Occasionally known as Derek Montia. Thrilled to be here once again with my guy, the peanut butter to my jelly. It's the one, the only, the incomparable Damon Farrell, aka Damon Dog on the ones and twos. This show, as always, is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Make sure to go download that app right now, create an account, and use our code of PHNX to get yourself a $20 off your first purchase there. Terms do apply. And again, get yourself some great last-minute ticket deals over at Game Time. I'm thrilled to be joined by our guy, Jesse Friedman from Snakes Territory, once again here to discuss all the things Arizona Diamondbacks. Jesse, great to have you here. And things aren't great. Things have yesterday, I believe we said I don't think things can get worse. Well, they kind of did yesterday afternoon. And in transparency, just in case something insane goes down, I do have to let everyone know we are pre-recording this actually on Tuesday. Sorry, I have to tell you, because Wednesday is a very volatile day, Jesse. And not only do we have the Rule 5 draft, but there could be trades, there could be acquisitions, and we could be sitting here talking about the Diamondbacks getting Mike Soroka and Ketel Marte trade could happen right while we're in the middle of talking about this. So we don't want to sound like crazy people ignoring any breaking news that's happening. But like I said yesterday when we did do that show, we talked about Edwin Diaz to the Dodgers, and we felt like the world was caving in on us a bit. It feels suffocating for the Dodgers to continue to add the best players in baseball to this team, even after winning 2 World Series titles.
I mean, is anyone surprised? I kind of wish maybe you were, but you're not, because this is just what the Dodgers do year after year. And especially over the last 2 off seasons, they've shown a willingness to spend in the bullpen, an area that we actually haven't seen them spend all that much money in recent years. But then last year it was, Kirby Yates was a big move for them. Tanner Scott, of course, as well. And even though neither of those moves really panned out, here are the Dodgers just going back and kind of doing a similar thing. Granted, Edwin Diaz is arguably a bigger get than, probably not arguably, he is a bigger get than either of those guys were last offseason. And this is just very Dodgers of them to pull something like this off.
It really is. There was also an awkward interview on MLB Network where they tried to talk to Andrew Friedman about this deal that is not final. And he had to be like, well, I don't know, but if this were to happen, it would be great. That kind of thing. Like that's funny. I know you and I have dealt with having the reports come out, but not being able to directly ask Mike Hazen or Torey Lovullo any questions about it, considering that the deal wasn't confirmed or wasn't finalized. But this is just a deal that once again makes the Dodgers more powerful. It's one of their areas of weakness on during a year where they won the championship. And, again, this Dodgers front office feels like they want to do something historic. They don't want to just win 1 or 2 World Series. They want to create a dynasty in Los Angeles. And with the addition of Edwin Diaz, it made us very sad on yesterday's episode. It made us very much want to just kind of already give up on the 2026 season. I know it's loser talk. I know it's not the best, most positive route to go, but it does make it hard to get excited about any moves that Diamondbacks have made, like the addition of Mike Soroka, or any moves that they're going to make, right? Like, even if they do something kind of fun, you'll enjoy it for a minute, and then you'll once again be reminded that we're in the Dodgers division, and it's kind of insufferable.
I mean, the reality is, yeah, the D-backs could make moves in their bullpen this offseason, but they're not going to get anyone of Edwin Diaz's caliber. I mean, there's only one Edwin Diaz out there. So there is
maybe Robert Suarez, maybe him, but even that sounds like, I'm not saying the Diamondbacks could get him. I'm just saying as far as somebody of his caliber, but still, like, there are too many teams that are still interested in adding an elite closer. And most of those teams have far more money to spend than the Diamondbacks do.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Robert Suarez is out there, and maybe you'd regard him somewhat similarly, but it's hard for me to imagine the Diamondbacks landing a reliever of that caliber. I mean, $23 million, like, that's a pretty hefty AAV for even a closer, even the, arguably the best closer in baseball, in Edwin Diaz. Like, relievers are still really volatile. I mean, there have been some pretty steep drop-offs for relievers that were once elite. And that does mean there's considerable risk, I think, in the Dodgers doing this. At the same time, like, what is $23 million to them, right? If this goes south, it is not going to really destroy them in any kind of a way. And of course, that's the big benefit of having the resources that they do.
On yesterday's episode, I think I said 33 million a year, not 23 million a year, but regardless of the outrageous amount that he's getting,
you might as well have gotten 33, right?
Might as well get 50 million a year. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, as far as the Diamondbacks go, right? It's like, it's not like they were going to afford him, and whatever he got is what he got, right? But I mean, there are impacts on the market, right? Him getting yet another deal that is worth that is historic for a reliever to receive it. It's 3 years, $69 million, $23 million a year. It's almost again, just as frustrating that they can spend that kind of money just on a reliever when that is close to the Diamondbacks' entire budget this offseason, right? Like, we know that they're not going to spend north of 40 million, and we suspect that they might even spend closer to 30 than 40 million, right? Like, so again, you're talking about $23 million just on a relief pitcher. The Diamondbacks have so many needs. They have so many things they need to address. And this doesn't help, because this makes the market more expensive for other elite relievers. They were in talks at one point, reportedly, with Pete Fairbanks. I'm sure those talks with what other closers are receiving has probably gotten more expensive while those discussions have been going on. I mean, Fairbanks put up some pretty good numbers, and even though he, some things kind of slid back in 2025 a bit, still feels like he is going to get probably far more than what was estimated, which was originally around like $9 million a year.
It is interesting to me that, like, if you go to MLB trade rumors, they actually had 4 and 82 as their prediction for Edwin Diaz. So I guess the average annual value at 23 million is a little higher than what it would work out to for 4 and 82, but the total guarantee is actually quite a bit lower. So I don't think the Edwin Diaz contract is alarming. Maybe that adds to the frustration, because of course it's the Dodgers who managed to sign someone for the one free agent we've had who signed for less than what they were maybe expected to get. Of course it winds up landing with them. But yeah, I think, the pool, the guys that the Diamondbacks are going to be in contention for, Pete Fairbanks, and we heard a rumor about Pierce Johnson recently. Right. I know Nick Pivetta reported that. Like, those types of guys are certainly in a different tier of the market, and you would hope that even with some of the higher prices we've seen so far, I still think Pete Fairbanks there's a chance that the Pete Fairbanks market settles maybe right around the expectation, or maybe below that. I'm still very curious how teams are viewing him, given that his strikeout rate has really dropped off considerably the past couple years, and it feels like that's what teams really want the most right now.
Well, in other bad news for the Diamondbacks, the MLB Draft Lottery was held yesterday afternoon. And, some teams moved up quite a bit, including the San Francisco Giants, that were able to move all the way up to the 4th pick in the 2026 MLB Draft. Meanwhile, the Diamondbacks were one of the big losers of the MLB Draft Lottery. They essentially finished the season with the 10th worst record, so they had the 10th pick overall, and their lottery, this lottery drops them down to 15th instead of 10th. Such a Diamondbacks thing to have happen. Go from a top 10 pick down to 15th, Jesse. And of course, we also saw the Tampa Bay Rays get the second selection overall, and the Chicago White Sox gets the number 1 overall pick. This is now a number 1 overall pick for the Blackhawks, the Bears, and the White Sox in like the last 4 or 5 years. It makes me sick, and I don't know what that's like. When we get a top pick, we squander it and we mess it up. But anyway, we got the Tampa Bay Rays at 2, got the Minnesota Twins at 3, the Giants at 4, the Pittsburgh Pirates at 5. I was having a tantrum during the draft lottery, Jesse, and people here in the office didn't understand why I was so upset about the Giants moving up so much and the Diamondbacks moving down. And then they all dismiss the draft, and they're like, who cares? We're not going to see these guys for like 9 years. And I just kind of had my fill of this office for the afternoon. They all made me sick.
Well, for starters, it's all Jake Lamb's fault, right?
It is Jake Lamb's fault.
He was the Diamondbacks representative. So if you're going to be upset at somebody, their most recent coach.
It's a bad start, Jake. It's a bad start.
Yeah, it's not great. But you're right. This is very much on course for an Arizona sports team. Of course, Major League Baseball has not had a draft lottery for very long. A new thing here in the past several. I want to say this is the 4th season it's been in play. And unsurprisingly, the D-backs are already dropping quite considerably from what they would have had in the old system. So,
good stuff.
You can't take the Arizona out of the Arizona Diamondbacks. That's it's just the way this is going to be.
I had nerds on my mentions, Jesse, telling me about like where Aaron Judge went and where people went. Oh, look, I know. I was here when Paul Goldschmidt was drafted. I know that sometimes there are diamonds in the rough, and like being 10th doesn't make things better than being 15th or whatever. I mean, Drew Jones definitely has not worked out as of yet for this team, and he was a very high draft pick, right? So sometimes having those high draft picks doesn't necessarily translate into those guys making Major League Baseball. That's why there's not that much interest in the draft itself or the draft lottery. But I did find it delightful that the league worst Colorado Rockies were not eligible for this year's lottery, because this team in baseball cannot receive a lottery pick in 3 consecutive years. So suck it, Colorado. They will pick 10th in the draft. And then also you have the Nationals and Angels were not eligible because they are teams that give rather than receive. Revenue sharing dollars cannot receive a lottery pick in consecutive years. So there's a lot of that with the draft. There's also, Espo was asking me like about trading draft picks, and I told him that they can't do that. And then he proceeded to ask me, why do they have a draft lottery? And I was like, I don't know. I can't answer you that. MLB makes these attempts at making stuff seem fair, right? But it's not when you have a team that finished like the Giants. They were like 12th in the lottery order, and they move all the way up to 4th. Like, yes, I guess per chance, based on chances, it's fair. Based on balls rolling around and such, like it's fair because it's all just random chaos. But I think with a sport that needs help with parity, I don't really think this is the answer. The White Sox still ended up with the number 1 overall pick, so that part's fine. But it's kind of like the way the draft like kind of works out from there. A lot of teams I felt like got screwed, not just the Diamondbacks, and then a lot of teams got, kind of rewarded for nothing other than fate choosing their ball later than they chose other teams' balls.
My question is, from a Rockies standpoint, isn't the lottery itself made so that teams are discouraged from tanking, so that you can not just finish last every year and get the number 1 pick?
Yeah, so how do they still end up with the pick?
So how is there now a rule against, if you finish in the lottery 3 years in a row, that now you can't even be in the lottery anymore? It's like the lottery itself is to discourage tanking. So now you're discouraging being in the lot. You're just discouraging being bad at this point.
Well, I mean, and the Rockies shouldn't get rewarded for how bad they've been or how much they've mismanaged that team. So I'm fine with it. I just don't think they should have been given a top 16 pick. I think that it should be more of a drastic, like,
just no first round pick for you. If you get a lottery pick,
none at all,
3 years in a row,
somebody else gets yours.
Vanished. I think, like, I don't know if the lottery is a total necessity in Major League Baseball. I never really thought it was, but it serves the same purpose as for other sports. I think it is just to discourage tanking. And yeah, I think it makes some sense that the Rockies would get pushed down a little bit because you want to discourage tanking. You want to be like, all right, you've got to, you can't just do this year after year after year. Maybe you should go and spend some money in free agency. And I know the Rockies still wind up running a reasonable payroll, but certainly they could have done more the past few years to try to be a more competitive team than they've been. Granted, if they sign an extra free agent here or there, are they actually going to avoid being a lottery team? Probably not, because they have lots of problems to work through over there.
Sorry, I'm laughing, Jesse. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at our producer of the Cardinals show, Noah, just showing up in the darkness of our office through a glass door. And I almost screamed and ran out of the studio in the direction that isn't an exit door, just because how much he just terrified me while we were in the middle of recording this. But we have so much more to talk about, including the Arizona Diamondbacks adding a new member to their front office, a new assistant general manager. We're going to talk about this on the other side of this break. Don't you guys go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback Show. Well, Rally House is your go-to spot to shop for all your favorite local Arizona team gear. And of course, you know me, I'm fitted in mine. I got my Corbin Carroll shirt on. And of course, with tens of thousands of products to shop from, you will never find the same thing in there twice. And you will never find an opposing team gear in a Rally House location either. Every time you visit a Rally House, you're guaranteed to find something new, unique, and that matches your game day vibe. And of course, they have everything you need for your game day vibe, whether it's drinkware, signage, hats, jerseys, coolers, babies, diapers, doesn't matter. They got everything over there at Rally House. They have shop locations in Tempe, Mesa, and Glendale right now. So find your local Rally House location and shop their entire product assortment online at rallyhouse.com today. And you know it is the season around here for over $80 million in prizes over at the Arizona Lottery. You got to love the play, but you also have to love the gifting from Arizona Lottery. With their holiday scratchers, you know you have all of the people you need to shop for covered, at least those that are 18 and over, with some delightful holiday scratchers. There are 6 festive scratchers to choose from, including Cash Countdown, which has prizes up to $250,000, and Candy King Cash, which smells delightfully like peppermint. They're made for gifting, whether it's a white elephant exchange, a stocking stuffer, or just because there's always a chance of your little gift at being worth millions of dollars. So love the play and spread holiday cheer with holiday scratchers from the Arizona Lottery. Play and gift today. Must be 18 and over. All right. Well, Jesse, according to our guy, Nick Pivetta, insider for the Arizona Diamondbacks, the D-backs have hired former Pittsburgh Pirates director of pitching development, Jeremy Bleich. I'm sure I'm going to mess that name up. There's no chance. But either way, Bleich, I think, will take on an assistant GM role on the D-backs side next to Mike Hazen and Emil Sade. So this is obviously a guy that has, according to Pirates media, has had a huge impact on the Pirates pitching development and how good that pitching staff in Pittsburgh has gotten. So this actually makes a lot of sense considering the focus turning here towards pitching for the Arizona Diamondbacks.
He made Paul Skeens, I heard.
He created Paul Skeens in a laboratory. That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, I think he takes sole credit for the Pirates drafting Paul Skeens. No other team
I would if I was him.
Would have made that selection. It's only because of him. I guess there was some controversy there, but yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's always hard to know from the outside looking in how much of an impact one front office official can have
Sure.
in this regard. But from all the reporting we've seen, like, he really has been a significant part of the Pirates being as good at pitching development as they've been, and they have been really good at it. I mean, I know they're kind of the brunt of a lot of jokes because they don't spend a lot of money and they just have not really been very successful in recent years. But Pirates can pitch. I mean, that has not been an issue for them. And even thinking about, of course, they've been mentioned among other teams as a potential destination for Ketel Marte. I don't know if they have any pitchers that you would really want for Ketel other than, of course, Paul Skeens, but there's no way they're going to trade him.
Who I want. You know who I want. Jesse wants by this mustache. I'm out here recruiting Paul Skeens every single day with my stash.
There is one pitcher that you clearly want on the Pittsburgh Pirates if you could get him, but I don't think that's going to happen. The Pirates do have a lot of other solid young pitchers that have come up through their system here in the past few years. Jared Jones had elbow surgery last year, but was very promising. Mike Burrows is someone who's attracted some trade interest. They just traded a pitcher to the Boston Red Sox as well. They've got some other interesting names there too. So this is something that the Pirates have excelled at, and the Diamondbacks have really struggled with. So maybe Bleich can come in and help the D-backs get on track with their pitching development.
Well, I mean, pitching development is abysmal with the Diamondbacks. It's just a problem for this franchise. Can't really figure it out, and it's something that has gone on, I think, for a while now. I mean, there was a period of time where the Diamondbacks felt like the D-backs were the team that were kind of creating some young pitching stars. I remember that being around the time, and it's unfortunate that this group of guys kind of is so tragic and bad and awful now to like think about, but it's like they were all studs. It was Tyler Skaggs, Trevor Bauer, Patrick Corbin. All of those guys all at the same time started emerging as young pitchers from this organization, and they all seem to be developing, and they all went on to have, at least at points, be really good major league pitchers, right? So again, I mean, something has happened that's become a weakness for this franchise and not a strength. And yeah, you could argue that the Pirates, they've had no problem creating pitchers and developing pitchers. It's more about keeping them. They have their Garrett Coles out there. They have all of these guys that have been very good pitchers in Major League Baseball, but it goes back to the problem with the Pirates being one of the teams that don't spend, and then they create these, studs for MLB, and then, the Yankees or the Red Sox or the Dodgers or some other team can come along when it's time to pay them their big contract and scoop them up, right? So it's a good organization to be stealing someone like this from, especially, as you said, so many of the reports are crediting him with being very good at pitching development, which he will oversee pitching development for the Diamondbacks as well. And that is something that it's good to hear. It's obvious that the focus this offseason is on the Diamondbacks pitching getting better. And I mean, you could argue that, sure, young guys, they don't have a consistent track record of developing young guys, but you could also say the same about some of the other pitchers that have been brought over to this team and paid a lot of money, like an Eduardo Rodriguez, that have kind of struggled their entire time here too. It's not like he's necessarily developing, but pitcher development goes far beyond just the young guys. It's something that helps the guys that are established major leaguers continue their development, continue to adapt, and continue to get better as they age and certain things fall off, like what you were talking about with Pete Fairbanks and his strikeout numbers, right? There's other ways to still be very effective as a pitcher as you get older, but the organization needs to kind of aid you in that and help develop you into your next, into your strengths and what you have going on. And there's so much more that goes into it than just a pitching coach can help with.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, I think it's really easy to just fixate on who the pitching coach is and praise that guy when your pitching is really good and think that guy is the problem when your pitching is not good. But there really is a whole lot to this behind the scenes when it comes to not just developing these guys, but also acquiring them in the first place, figuring out which pitchers you should be chasing after to begin with. D-backs haven't done well in any of these areas in recent seasons. So I think it totally makes sense. And look, the D-backs don't have to be great at pitching in order to get this thing turned around and back into the consistent contender that, I guess I shouldn't say back. I'm not sure the D-backs have really ever been a consistent contender, but the path to get there is to find a way for the pitching to just be okay.
Right.
You don't
Right.
need a top 5 pitching staff. If you can just have a top 15, maybe top 10, if somehow you could pull that off pitching staff, then this offense has enough weapons where that could really play. So I think it's an interesting move, and we'll see if it pays dividends for them.
Definitely. And I mean, he has been a very well-respected part of the Pirates, franchise. He's been with them for 6 seasons. So I kind of love that, because I feel like this isn't just like an overreaction. This is something that, like, he's time tested a bit in Pittsburgh at helping their pitching get better. He's a former player. And again, there seems to be a lot of lamenting from the Pirates, not necessarily fan base, but from the media, that recognized how big of an impact he had on this organization. You also have, Jesse, the fact that I don't want to be doomsday or whatever you want to call this that I'm going to say, but ALLCITY was interviewing for the Rockies GM position. And there's a good chance that with his track record, his pedigree, he is going to be coveted for a GM position in baseball. He is going to eventually get that. And it might come sooner than many of us would like, because he has been instrumental in putting together this young team and especially the core of very talented players that the D-backs have right now. But I mean, again, it even though he might not necessarily be a potential replacement, or however you want to see it, it's kind of nice to have perhaps a future assistant GM that is the only assistant GM under Mike Hazen, learning from somebody that, again, has been Mike Hazen's right-hand man. And I mean, again, just a lot of information, a lot of experience and knowledge can be shared there.
It is, yeah. It's interesting that this is, I mean, he's being hired as an assistant general manager. I mean, that's a pretty big title. And I think it points to the Diamondbacks recognizing that, like, they need someone in a fairly high ranking position in the organization to help them out with this.
Yes.
They're not looking to lower level executives to try to turn this pitching thing around. I think this is a recognition as a franchise that, like, hey, we're not real good at this, and we need to look seriously at kind of outsourcing this work to someone who has had more success in this area. And to the D-backs' credit, they have had a lot of success on the position player side, like Mike Hazen and Mike Fitzgerald and ALLCITY. Like, those guys have really been quite a team when it comes to drafting, developing position players, getting value for them in the trade market. It's just that pitching side that has not really clicked here for a long time. So, I mean, I think it's a really interesting move for them.
It is. And, overall, the one thing I'm excited about is to see what kind of impact not only he can have on the overall pitching staff, but the Diamondbacks just made a signing for a guy, Mike Soroka. We've talked about him on this podcast. I know you and Jack have discussed it on Snakes territory. I like the move. I think that Soroka still has a lot left in the tank at being only 28 years old. And I think that a lot of things that you and I would actually nerd out about together, and including his expected stats, actually make me think that, for getting a guy like this at $7.5 million is a pretty good deal, and could end up being, one of the moves that surprises Major League Baseball. I know these numbers for his season don't look great, and we discussed that, but we also discussed, again, his expected batting average, or excuse me, his expecting opponent batting average, his expected ERA, and just some of those stats Baseball Savant have on him from 2025, right? So, like, there are some things that I like about bringing in someone that specializes in pitcher development now, when you're adding a guy like this who, quite frankly, could benefit quite a bit from the Diamondbacks adding someone like Bleich to their staff.
Yeah, it makes me curious if Bleich had any say in the Diamondbacks making that move. I mean, we're hearing about both of
Right.
these stories like right around the same time, or maybe not. I mean, maybe Michael Soroka is someone the D-backs have been targeting for a while here, but he is definitely the type of pitcher that, on paper, like, are you going to bet on the Diamondbacks of all teams to find a way to get the most out of someone like Michael Soroka? It's a
Probably
little
not.
hard. Yeah, it's a little hard to feel that way.
Yeah.
But that's part of what they need to get better at. And even looking at 2026, like, I don't think there's any way. I said this on Snake's Territory as well. I don't think there's any way that the Diamondbacks this offseason are going to be able to build a team that's like 90 wins on paper. I mean, they're going to need some things to break their way. They're going to need some unexpected breakouts to happen. Right. And Michael Soroka is a candidate for that. Like, he is not your relatively high floor but low ceiling number 5 starter type. He's someone who, he might be more of a number 5 type starter when all is said and done, but he's shown the ability to give you more than that. You look back at his rookie season, which I know is way back in 2019. He's dealt with some pretty significant injury stuff since then, but looking at those underlying numbers that you just mentioned as well, like, there's evidence here that you can get more out of Michael Soroka than what he's been able to produce recently. And it would be so big for the D-backs to find a way to get more from someone like this than what they've been able to produce with other teams.
It feels like when there's like expectations for a guy to do well because they have a track record and they're a superstar and things like that, it doesn't work out for the Diamondbacks. But when it's Ryan Nelson, that no matter how good he did, they wanted to stick him in the bullpen or wanted to not really make him part of their starting rotation and were just so reluctant to until they absolutely had to, he ends up being a stud for this team. I think that there's things about Soroka that we discussed the other day that, again, I still feel like you were going to really have a hard time finding a starter this cheap, no matter who you went after, because if they were a starting pitcher with any kind of track record of starting, they were most likely going to want more, even if they had a bad season last year. And look at what we're seeing some of these relievers get. I mean, Devin Williams put up some pretty atrocious numbers in 2025, and he still got paid. So, like, this is not a cheap market, and we haven't really even seen the market move yet for starting pitching outside of Dylan Cease and Mike Soroka and a few other moves. So we really have no way to know, other than Dylan Cease seemed to get paid more money than people expected him to, and that most likely will be the case with those top 7 guys, including Zach Gallen. Zach Gallen will probably be part of that class, but and that all makes things far more difficult for the D-backs here as far as what they're going to do to get that next starter that they need. The next starting pitcher needs to be a much bigger name than no offense, Mike Soroka, just because if they expect to hang with the Dodgers and everything they're doing and adding in with Diaz, they have to bring in some help. They have to bring in somebody that's going to essentially complement Corbin Burns very well when he returns, but until then might be able to hold the line down or hold the fort down with Ryan Nelson, maybe going 1-2 with him there. But we are going to talk about perhaps if that guy is Nick Pivetta from the San Diego Padres on the other side of this break. Don't you go anywhere. You're watching the PHNX Diamondback Show. Well, you guys know that I love Pure Edibles, and make sure you check out the full variety if you love edibles as much as I do. They have a wide variety of effects, flavors, and most importantly, what kind of candy you can get. I know a lot of these companies, they all make gummies. From Pure Edibles, you can get yourself hard candies, chews, soft candies like caramels. You got yourself their Kicks, which are their version of Starburst, and they always have something new. And like I said, delicious flavors, amazing effects. But most importantly, I love their new collaboration with Mother Road Brewing Company, the finest brewery in all the land. It makes the finest IPA in Arizona, Tower Station IPA. These two iconic brands have come together to form Noble Road and put out their new Tower Station IPA all in one. This new offering captures the crisp citrus and piney hops of Arizona's favorite IPA. Just an amazing THC all-in-one device. If you're in Arizona, swing by select dispensaries and grab your Tower Station all-in-one from Noble Road and also find yourself some Pure Edibles products from one of over 130 dispensaries across this fine state. And it is absolutely electric that the World Cup is finally coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. Most of the people in this office weren't even born yet. And I'm sure in some cases, I mean, maybe their parents weren't even born yet. I don't know. I'm feeling very old, but I cannot wait to see World Cup action here in the States. And the best way to get your tickets to that is through Game Time. Game Time, the app is such a lifesaver. We've already discovered how often we find ourselves benefiting from those last minute ticket deals. But right now, of course, it's the best way to get your tickets to the World Cup. Getting tickets, going to be brutal, but not with Game Time. Fees are included, so you always know your total up front at Game Time. They have zone deals, which will allow you to select an area of the arena for you to sit in, and Game Time will take care of the rest and save you even more. Plus, you get to see what your view is going to be from your seat, get a panoramic view, and of course, you know exactly what you're getting into before you buy. Your purchase is also covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying soccer tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHNX for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms do apply. Create an account, redeem code PHNX for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Jesse, we have a little bit, not a rumor. This was just an idea kind of floated out there, but our pals over at ESPN put out an article discussing who they think would be the best trade candidates for which teams. And this was specifically, I believe, about pitching. But they linked one San Diego Padres pitcher, Nick Pivetta, actually to the Chicago Cubs as the best fit for Nick. So excuse me for just disclosing that first. I'm trying to be very honest and transparent tonight, Jesse. But they listed as as another team to watch for Pivetta, your Arizona Diamondbacks. They said with Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly being free agents and Burns injured, the D-backs need a top-of-the-rotation starter. No surprise to us. Their farm system, ranked 13, added a lot of depth this past trade deadline. They're suggesting here that the Padres might be open to perhaps a pitching prospects, maybe a few pitching prospects in trade for Nick Pivetta, who had an absolutely breakout season last year with a 2.87 ERA over 181 and 2/3 innings. It was the best of his career. So it might not be the best time to be asking to trade for Pivetta, but he's under a 4-year, $55 million deal that he just signed in 2025. Contract is backloaded, and he has an opt-out after the 2026 season. So a trade for Pivetta essentially could just be 1 year of his service. We've talked about a few guys out there that are being shopped around, but not really being shopped around. Freddie Peralta, Tarek Skubal, cost far higher on those two guys than a Nick Pivetta. However, is it worth the risk for the Diamondbacks to go after any starting pitcher that they're potentially only going to get for 1 year of his, 1 year of service?
I guess the positive with getting a guy who's probably only 1 year is that we don't know if the second year would be played anyway. There's obviously
You're a monster, Jesse Friedman.
I mean, isn't that kind of the reality of this? I mean, I don't know. Like,
Edwin Diaz ensured that we're going to have a lockout. The Edwin Diaz to the Dodgers ensures that the other. Think about it. We talked about it on yesterday's show. Tanner Scott was the straw that broke the camel's back for most of the owners. Not Ohtani, not any of these other signings, not Yamamoto, not Roki Sasaki. No, Tanner Scott. That was the bridge too far for most owners, as far as like even the Yankees were like, enough is enough. This is crazy. We're like, you're the Yankees. What do you mean? Right. So there is no doubt in my mind that the Dodgers landing Edwin Diaz is going to be, once again, another case for the owners to demand some sort of firm, hard, much harder cap or harder competitive balance tax than we currently have. But you're not wrong. We might only get 1 year no matter what, but whatever. Don't even do that with me right now. But he's like an under the radar kind of guy. And I don't know if under the radar is the right term, But the good thing about this is that his contract does get more expensive as the years go on. So if he does opt out, if the Diamondbacks do make that move and he opts out after 2026, whatever, then he can go get a bigger contract somewhere else. Much like Mike here that we already got. I would love it if whoever we get is so good on a 1-year deal that essentially the Diamondbacks can't afford him after the season, because that would mean that a Mike Soroka or mystery man, whatever, Nick Pivetta, would be so good that after the 2026 season, they would want to go somewhere else and get their huge payday. The Diamondbacks need that kind of energy. They need that kind of like go out there and take an opportunity with this team. But again, overall, feels like a top tier starter on the short term is not really doable for the Diamondbacks, nor do I really feel like that is what Mike Hazen has necessarily addressed what he wants to target.
I think it's just a tough trade fit with the Padres. I mean, first of all, there's the fact that the Padres are in the same division as the Diamondbacks.
Yeah. Why would we do anything to help out the Diamondbacks, right?
Yeah,
like, that would totally be more of a Diamondbacks helping move, right?
We haven't seen many moves between AJ Preller and Mike Hazen in recent years. I can't even remember the last one, and I'm not sure there's really ever been a significant one during the tenure of those two guys. So it seems pretty. Yeah, I mean, we know that AJ Preller is down to talk shop at any time, But yeah, I don't think Mike Hazen is exactly on speed dial for him. So yeah, it's hard for me to imagine it. Nick Pivetta is on one of the weirdest contracts that I've ever seen, where he made, if I'm reading this right, $1 million in 2025, but is set to make 19 in 2026. Yep. And that's why the Padres would consider trading him in the first place, is the Padres have suddenly become this kind of cash-strapped team that's trying to cut in areas where they can. But they also need pitching. Like, the Padres are in kind of a similar situation as the D-backs, where they actually need to add pitching, right? And yet they're
losing Michael King for sure, right?
Yeah, they're probably losing Michael King, and of course
they don't have Yu Darvish for next year.
And they've already lost Dylan Cease, right? Yeah. So like they have a lot of work to do in terms of filling out this rotation. The only reason they'd even consider moving Nick Pivetta is that he makes $19 million. And maybe for them, given the season he just had, you'd rather flip this potentially great 2026 season for Nick Pivetta and go get a young starter with some potential. So it's hard for me to imagine it happening with the D-backs, though. I just think the interdivision thing at D-backs don't seem to enjoy that. I don't really think the Padres do either. But I mean, he'd be a great fit. Like Nick Pivetta just revisiting his numbers from a season ago. It's kind of startling the year he had. I mean, a 2.87 ERA and 181 2/3 innings, a WHIP under 1. He finished 6th in Cy Young voting. Like, if you're the Padres, this is everything you could have hoped and more that Pivetta would be. But now it's left them in this weird situation where maybe he makes too much money. So we'll see what happens.
Well, one of the reasons why that franchise could potentially be trying to shed contracts like his is because of this ongoing, battle between the former owner Peter Seidler's widow and his brothers. And from my understanding, one of the solutions obviously is to just sell the team. I don't think either side wants to do that. But when things go down in a certain way, divorces, things in life happen, like there is no other recourse, unfortunately, than to sell the assets and split, what it brings in. So as far as the Diamondbacks are concerned, I hope the infighting lasts forever. I hope it brings that franchise to its knees, Jesse. And I think that at this point, we can use all the help we can get. So if they want to sell and they want to shed some of their contracts before doing so, we will happily take Nick Pivetta. But yes, I mean, again, AJ Preller is very, very good at his job. And he typically does not trade for prospects either. He usually pushes those guys away and goes all in on any player that he can. So overall, this doesn't feel like a likely deal, but it does feel like the Diamondbacks might need to make a trade to get that starting pitcher. The more we explore different options, the more we take a look at the available pitchers on the market, it's going to come down to either being extremely disappointing for Diamondbacks fans, or it's going to involve a trade. Like that I feel like those are the only two results, because when you start looking at the available starting pitchers on the free agent market, as we discussed yesterday, things get bleak after Merrill Kelly. There's like a sudden drop off when you're looking at the performance and the WAR and everything of the available free agent pitchers once you reach Merrill Kelly. And even Merrill Kelly might prove to be too expensive for this team. I don't believe that's the case, but considering what they still want to do, considering that they still need to go out and add a reliever, so considering that they still need starting pitching and a first baseman and an outfielder, like it feels like even Merrill Kelly at a sub $20 million asking price might be too much for this team. I hope not. I hope that's not the case. And again, in looking at the options, it feels more and more like a reunion with Kelly is the smart move for this team, especially after hearing that there's mutual interest from both sides and that, you know, hopefully they're working towards something. But even Kelly, Jesse, isn't going to feel like it's a big enough addition to this team in order to make anybody, I think, that roots for the Diamondbacks feel like we're competitive in 2026, right? Like, it's not to say that they can't be. And Damon right now will punch me in the face if I get any more negative than I was yesterday. So I have to watch what I say. But it does feel like, you know, it's a hard sell to fans to say, we added Merrill Kelly and Mike Soroka to our pitching staff, and we are going to go out there and hang with the Dodgers next year. Like, that's something that I would have to see to believe before I would even begin to get excited about it.
I mean, I think that's fair. Like Michael Soroka and Merrill Kelly is, I think it would be fine, but you're right. It's not going to feel like a significant needle mover going into next year. And this is a team that just won 80 games. So like there's a decent amount of ground to make up. And of course you're missing pieces on the offensive side as well that you had for a good portion of the year in Josh Naylor and in Eugenio Suarez. And I'm sure the D-backs will try to patch some of those holes. They're probably not going to be able to land players of that caliber. So I thought it was interesting in Steve Gilbert's story that he published after day 2 of the winter meetings. He said if the Diamondbacks are able to land a frontline starter without trading Marte, talking about Ketel, of course, then the likelihood of him staying in Arizona would grow exponentially. So if somehow there's a way for the D-backs to land a starter without dealing Marte, then it sounds like they would just keep him at that point. Does Merrill Kelly qualify as that? I'm not totally sure, but I think he probably would, because I mean, if you sign Merrill Kelly, then I mean, those are your 5 starters, right? Like your rotation is filled out at that point, and you probably don't need to trade Ketel.
You mean the answer to keeping Ketel Marte is bringing his best friend back here? That's what the answer is.
Correct.
Right? So, Damon, I think we got this one locked down, buddy. When Merrill Kelly comes back, Ketel doesn't go anywhere. We add Pete Fairbanks. We bring in Paul Goldschmidt for the vibes. We lose 80 games still. It's going to happen. It's fine.
Yeah, the same exact record we have every year.
We're going to have a great time.
It'll be fun, though.
We're going to have a good time. Maybe Mike buys at the trade deadline instead of sells. Who knows? We could get crazy. We could get nuts.
The bullpen will suck. Where have you heard that before?
Oh, man. Well, you know what doesn't suck? The new hats in our shop, by the way. We got some amazing new hats over at our PHNX merch shop. You can get there by going to store.allcitynetwork.com or go phnx.com to find the latest merch here for your favorite sports networks. We got 3 branded Bills designs featuring their new canvas model. We also have this brand new amazing Phoenix Suns hat. We got a PHNX Cardinals hat. So much more. These things are gorgeous.
I already bought mine, Derek.
Did you?
Yeah, I got the
quantities are limited, so you got to act now before supplies run out. But I don't even know, Damon, what I think we have a little image of our hats, right? But
we do, but it's not the right file type.
Oh, those file types. But we have a crest hat that I don't even know what it's for, and I love it. Like, it's just this crest design that the fine folks at Branded Bills made us.
It's a yacht club.
It's a yacht rock hat is what it is, and that's what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to listen to yacht rock and wear it. But
you might actually take it to some yacht rock concerts.
Oh, I definitely would. I'm of the age to definitely go to yacht rock concerts. But I would tell Jesse to go buy the hats, and I would tell him to get them for his family members as gifts. But I know for a fact that Jesse does not plan on doing his holiday shopping anytime soon. I mean, he has. They wouldn't
ship in time. They wouldn't.
You do have to worry about shipping times. That's true. But we also have to worry about the fact that, as I said earlier, we are recording this in the past and not the present. And because of that, the Rule 5 draft is happening right now as we speak. Forget as we speak. It's already over. These guys came in, they were like, here's my envelope. I got to get out of here. I want to go home. So it's definitely understandable that happened. But the Diamondbacks did have the 13th overall pick. I'm kind of fascinated to see if they actually select anybody. Most teams don't, just due to the money you have to pay for that player, even though it's not very much. It's $100,000. And the more importantly, the stipulation, right, where you have to keep that player on your team for the entirety of the season. And not just your 40-man roster, you have to keep them on your 26-man active roster, which I think that's the thing that makes it more difficult. It's easy to store a minor leaguer on your 40-man roster, but not necessarily on your 26-man active roster. And that's where things get complicated, Jesse.
Yeah, I'm curious if the D-backs will make a selection. It's been a while since they have. I wonder if this would be a year where taking a reliever makes sense, because it's going to be hard for them, I think, to fill out this bullpen with the resources they have, like maybe taking a gamble on some guy in AAA who has really nasty stuff and is trying to get all the pieces together. But again, the Rule 5 draft is now over, as all of you are watching or listening to this. So
they're like, these idiots, what are they talking about? We didn't pick anybody at all. Or
well, I would sound like a genius though if they did just select a pitcher. Then I would sound very smart. So
Jesse, I covered this the other day, but there is a guy. His name is Robert George Pettit, aka RJ Pettit. Still don't know where the J comes from. 300 pounds, 6'8". This man is a hoss. And I mean, he's a slim 300, has an excellent mustache, put up some amazing stats. 2.44 ERA in 2025 in 66 in the third innings pitch with a 1.06 whip. I don't care if it was just for the AAA affiliate of the Detroit Tigers. I want this man. I want this man on my team. I want right now for people to be cheering as I am saying this. I want this big boy here in Arizona on the 26-man roster, and who knows, right? Like, I think for the Diamondbacks, you know, if you take a look at the Soroka signing, it's a gamble, right? Because even at $7.5 million, this is a man that has had every body part involved with his pitching mechanic injured at one point. Knee, Achilles, shoulder, elbow, like his injury list is a mile long, right? So it's like taking a gamble on him is a gamble. It's a risk because there is definitely an injury history there that is concerning for a team that just suffered quite a bit from injuries in 2025. But that's only a risk if he gets injured and it doesn't work out. But at $7.5 million, if he ends up being a guy that posts anywhere close to a 4 ERA or below and is serviceable, gives you a chance to win every 5 days when he goes out there and pitches, you win with a $7.5 million contract. And I would argue that 300-pound, 6'8" gentleman that pitches has a 2.44 ERA is somebody worth taking a risk on if at the end of the day, the biggest risk is that you won't be able to keep him on your 26-man roster and you lose $50,000 of the $100,000 that you paid for him, right? Because the Tigers would have to buy him back for $50,000. So I hope that as we sit here talking about this, that this man that was born the same year that I graduated from high school is on the Arizona Diamondbacks. But it's a bold prediction. I think trying to nail exactly who they got in the Rule 5 draft is an impossible task. But again, I mean, this team just kind of needs to take chances. That's it. You have yourself a guy that has a pretty good track record of developing pitching. I would feel a bit more comfortable right now taking some of those risks, as long as those risks are low cost risks that allow you still some financial flexibility to still go out and get the other players that you need to add to this roster.
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense for the Diamondbacks on some level. RJ Pettit is a name that also very much stood out to me, not just because he is 6'8" and 300 pounds, but
and you can't teach that, by the way.
You cannot teach that. But I mean, the strikeout numbers are pretty good.
Yeah.
He had a 34.4% K rate in AAA this past year. Really, he's been pretty consistent. His walk rates have never really been alarming during his minor league career, which is always a good sign, especially for a pitcher of that size. Right. Getting all the mechanics to work out can be a little tricky. It is a little strange to me that he's 26 years old and has not broken into the big leagues. Seems like the results have been consistent enough that he should have gotten an opportunity by now. But I guess this is why the Rule 5 draft exists. It's like when a guy is deserving of an opportunity but gets kind of stuck in an organization, then that's why this thing exists. So there's a few guys in this category where I could see it making sense for the D-backs.
Well, and the D-backs themselves kind of have some positions that are blocked for the foreseeable future. So they have guys like Blaze was starting to kind of become one of those guys that it felt like he wasn't going to get an opportunity. And yet here we stand. And I mean, he got many opportunities last year at different positions.
He's currently set to start at about 3 different positions for the next year. So.
And all at the same time. All at the
same time. Exactly.
Oh man. But yeah, again, like he was starting to become one of those guys. We were like, yeah, Blaze is a good player. You take a look at his numbers in Reno, he's putting up good numbers, but you never really you didn't necessarily see a path to the majors, yet here we are. And again, he's done the thing and had success last year. Like he was a pleasant surprise for this team and a big reason why, they were able to make any kind of run there at the end of the season. He still drifted off before the end. His offensive numbers weren't great, but anyway, we'll see what Blaze does next year, and we'll see if RJ Pettit is a Diamondback in real time. But we appreciate all of you so much for hanging in with us. Jesse, appreciate your time as always, sir. Make sure to follow Jesse over at Jesse and Friedman on Twitter. Also follow Snake's Territory. Make sure to download that podcast, get it wherever you get your shows from. They do excellent work over there, and definitely miss, as always, doing this show with this guy. So appreciate your time, sir. I am at Cap_Caveman with a K. Damon is at Damon Dog with a DAWG at the end, and we are all Damon's dogs. Bark. He does the little bark thing too. It's just because I can't do it by myself. So like without you, I gotta have him here to do it. But our show is at PHNX_D-backs. But as always, all roads lead to at PHNX_sports on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. I don't know why things got so bleak yesterday, and I still feel a little bit of that hanging over my head. But I will say this before we get out of here.
What did you say, Derek?
No, it's the Edwin Diaz thing. It's like it's just so the Dodgers. It's just so, and you're right. I will say that I myself am even surprised at how upset I was, considering that felt like a foregone conclusion. It felt like Edwin Diaz opting out of his contract with the Mets was directly in an effort for him to go to the Dodgers. And but then when it happened, I was still upset about it. But I will say this: baseball is baseball for a reason, and we need baseball to baseball, right? We need the Dodgers to be smited, and we need something crazy and fun and unexpected to happen. And maybe, just maybe, it's this team. I don't know. I still want Tetsuya Mai, Jesse. So that's a whole other thing. I know we won't be able to afford him either, but if he really wants to beat the Dodgers, if that's what his true goal is, I will happily pick him up from the airport and show him around town. And we, meaning me and Damon, will definitely badmouth the Dodgers the entire time, just to make it that much more appealing to him. But again, we appreciate all you guys for your time. Thank you so much. We'll see you tomorrow with another 12 p.m. show. Until then, guys, behave yourselves, have yourselves a wonderful evening, And remember, kids, baseball is fun, but it's so much more fun when the MLB Draft Lottery doesn't further ruin your life.
We all silly like the mayor.